Caught making out with his best friend's fiancée while I was heartbroken at home, my ex had the audacity to say, "I never meant to hurt you." Just days after rekindling our love, I found out he was still unfaithful. Now I'm left with nightmares and a healed heart. What's next? I apologize for any mistakes. English is not my first language. I do not even know where to begin. We were living together and everything. Last year for Christmas, I invited him to my home because we spent the first Christmas with his family. We were going through a very rough period which coincided with our second anniversary. This was my first adult relationship, and I had always heard that around the 2-year mark is a defining moment, so I was hoping we would get through that eventually. He ultimately decided to return to his home country for Christmas due to his grandmother's health issues, and was supposed to meet me in my home country afterward to spend New Year's Eve with my parents. This was the first time he would be meeting them, and they were very excited. To summarize, while we were with our respective families, we began to reconnect and revitalize our relationship, or so I believed. When he arrived in my country and met my family and friends, we had a fantastic time and it felt as if we had overcome our rough patch. For several days, it felt blissful. Then one day, as we were relaxing before going out with my friends for the last time before leaving my home country, his phone began to ring. He received a call from an unknown girl, and although he had not given me any reason to distrust him before that moment, I found it somewhat strange but not alarming. What I found extremely suspicious was his demeanor when I asked him who the girl was. He responded casually, saying she was just a random girl he met at a bar in his hometown with whom he had barely spoken, claiming he had no idea why she was calling. When he opened the conversation with her on Instagram, I noticed numerous messages, which I found very suspicious, especially since we had barely communicated, and I began to feel he was being dishonest with me. I requested to see the conversation, and he became very anxious, which only confirmed my worst fears. He lent me his phone, and I discovered that he had been messaging this girl for over a month. The most memorable parts of their conversation included her sending him a photo of her breasts, to which he responded with enthusiasm and asked for another. She expressed how much she wanted to see him again, and he replied in kind. The message that hurt me the most was from just a few days before Christmas when I believed we were reconnecting. He texted her, "I woke up just to talk to you," while he was actually saying good morning to me due to the time difference. I felt sick to my stomach, and we still had a couple more days in my home country with my family. He offered a poor excuse, saying that this began when we were at the lowest point in our relationship and claimed he did not even like her. He asserted that the past few days with me had reminded him of why he loved and cared for me. He stated he had no plans to meet with her and expressed feelings of unworthiness, asserting that he enjoyed feeling desired. I did not want to make a big deal about it because my parents were excited he was there, and I did not want to ruin things for them. Additionally, since it was my last few days with my parents, I did not want to spend them crying or causing them to worry about me, so I pretended everything was fine in front of them. When we boarded the plane to return home, a transatlantic flight, I cried and expressed how much he had hurt me. He cried as well, apologizing profusely, professing his love, and claiming he did not want to lose me. After 12 hours of being stuck together with no escape, I foolishly decided to forgive him because it was true that we were going through a rough patch, and he seemed genuinely remorseful for his actions. He had already informed the other girl that he had a girlfriend and apologized for leading her on, and he blocked her. I witnessed that. So yes, I forgave him. Then, after a year filled with many lows but also highs, we traveled to his hometown for Christmas. He left a couple of weeks before I did because I had to stay for work. The night before his departure, we had a terrible argument. I expressed my unease regarding what had happened the previous year, and instead of comforting me, we started to fight. He left, and I began to sense it might be the last time I visited his home country. I felt unsure about going, but I decided to go because I did not want to spend Christmas alone. His family and friends have always treated me very well, and we spent several days with them. Before we left, we stayed with his best friend. On the night before my departure, we went out with his friend to the same place where he had first met the girl he had been talking to. I was determined to enjoy myself, so I focused on drinking, dancing, and having fun. After going to the bathroom, I returned to find him talking to a girl. At that moment, despite being quite drunk, I lost my temper. I began accusing him of cheating in front of everyone, leading to a huge argument that became quite ugly. I took a taxi to his friend's house, and upon my arrival, I was crying, and his best friend's fiancé comforted me, telling me how foolish he was. He arrived later and went to bed. I could see no way forward for our relationship, but we still did not break up. The next day, I flew back home to the third country where we were living together, not my home country, and had a wonderful New Year's Eve with my friends. We exchanged a few texts, and everything seemed relatively fine. On the day he was flying back, I woke up to a message from his best friend. It was a video of my then-boyfriend making out with his fiancée, the woman who had been comforting me the previous day. It all took place inside their home while he, the best friend, was upstairs sleeping. I felt utterly betrayed. The best friend kicked him out the moment he witnessed that through the camera. It was an incredibly wild experience. He did not fly back that day because, being foolish, he had left his passport at his best friend's house and ultimately flew back 3 days later. During those 3 days, I packed up my life into boxes while crying profusely and sending him hateful messages. With the help of some friends, I moved out. I found a new place the day after moving out. It has been a whirlwind of emotions and experiences. I frequently have nightmares about him cheating on me. Today I had that same nightmare. We were out at a bar with his friends, and this girl started flirting with him, which obviously made me uncomfortable, but he just told me I was being irrational and they ended up kissing. I woke up feeling terrible. However, today the outcome was different. As soon as I saw the girl flirting with him and him being receptive, I just started laughing and walked away. I woke up feeling strange, still bad, but slightly better. That is all. I apologize for venting. I still do not understand why he did what he did. He used the same excuse, saying I could do much better than him and that he did not deserve me, along with how much he hates himself, etc., and I think I never will. I long for the day when I do not have to wake up feeling awful. To be honest, this experience has ruined relationships for me. I fell for him because he seemed different, kinder, and genuinely nice, only for him to turn out to be a complete fool and cause me so much pain, just as he promised he never would. Story 2. Caught my boyfriend cheating with his best friend's fiancée in their own home just days after I forgave him for another betrayal. I just enjoyed feeling desired, he said. Now I'm left packing up my life alone while he sleeps on their couch. How could he do this? I apologize for any errors. English is not my first language. I do not even know where to begin. We were living together and everything last year for Christmas. I invited him to my home because we had spent the first Christmas with his family and we were going through a very rough patch right around our second anniversary. It was my first adult relationship, and I had always heard that the 2-year mark is a defining moment, so I was hoping we would get through that eventually. He ultimately decided to go to his home country for Christmas because of his dying grandmother, and he was going to meet me in my home country afterwards to spend New Year's Eve with my parents. This was the first time he was meeting them, and they, my parents, were very excited. To make a long story short, while we were each with our own families, we started getting closer again and rekindled the relationship, or so I thought. Then he arrived in my country and met my family and friends. We were having a great time and it felt like we had overcome the rough patch. For a few days, it felt blissful. Then one day, we were relaxing before going out with my friends for the last time before leaving my home country when his phone started ringing. He was receiving a call from an unknown girl, and although he had not given me any reason to distrust him before that moment, I found it a bit odd but not alarming. What I found extremely suspicious was his demeanor when I asked him who the girl was. He said, "Oh, this random girl I met at a bar in his hometown whom I have barely talked to. I have no idea why she is calling me." When he opened the conversation with her on his Instagram, I saw many messages, which I found extremely suspicious since we had barely spoken to one another. I obviously had a terrible feeling that he was lying to me. I requested to see the conversation and he became quite nervous, which just confirmed my worst fears. He lent me his phone and I saw that he had been chatting with this girl for over a month. The most memorable parts of the conversation included the fact that she sent him a photo of her breasts, to which he replied, "Oh, lovely photo," and proceeded to ask for another one. She told him how much she wanted to see him again and he replied in kind. The part that hurt me the most was that just a few days before Christmas, when I thought we were reconnecting, he texted her, "I woke up just to talk to you," while he was definitely saying good morning to me due to the time difference. I felt nauseous and we still had a couple more days in my home country with my family. He offered a feeble excuse, stating that it had all started when we were at the worst point of our relationship and that he didn't even like her. He said that during the past few days with me, he was reminded of why we had fallen in love and how much he loved and cared for me. Additionally, he claimed he had no plans to meet with her and that he always felt unworthy of me. He just enjoyed feeling desired. I did not want to make a big deal because my parents were excited to have him there, and I did not want to ruin everything for them. Also, it was my last few days with my parents, so I did not want to spend them crying or have them worry about me. So I pretended everything was fine in front of them. When we boarded the plane to return home, transatlantic flight, hooray, I cried and expressed how much he had hurt me. He cried too, saying how sorry he was, how much he loved me, and that he did not want to lose me. After 12 hours together with no escape, I foolishly decided to forgive him because it was true that we were going through a rough patch and he seemed very remorseful for what he had done. He had already told the other girl that he had a girlfriend and apologized for leading her on, and he blocked her. I witnessed that. So yes, I forgave him. Then, after a year filled with many lows but also many highs, we planned to go to his hometown for Christmas. He was going to leave a couple of weeks before me because I had to stay for work. The night before he left, we had a horrible argument because I said I felt uneasy recalling what had happened a year prior, and instead of reassuring me, we began to fight. He left and I started feeling as though it was the last time I would visit his home country. I was honestly unsure about going, but I ultimately decided to attend because I did not want to spend Christmas alone. His family and friends have always been incredibly kind to me, and we spent a few days with them. Before we left, we stayed with his best friend. Now, the night before I departed, we went out with his friend to the same place where he had met the girl he had been talking to. I was determined to have a good time, so I was just drinking and dancing and having fun. I went to the bathroom and returned to find him talking to a girl. In that moment also, while very drunk, I lost it and began accusing him of being a cheater in front of everyone, which escalated into a huge argument. It became quite ugly. I took a taxi to his friend's house, and when I arrived crying, his best friend's fiancé was comforting me and telling me how much of an idiot he was. He eventually arrived and went to bed, and I did not see a way forward with the relationship. However, we still did not break up. The next day I flew back home to a third country where we were living together, not my home country, and had a lovely New Year's Eve with my friends. We were texting sporadically, but everything seemed okay. On the day he was flying back, I woke up to a message from his best friend. It was a video of my then-boyfriend making out with the best friend's fiancée, the woman who had been comforting me the previous day. All of this occurred inside their house while the best friend, was sleeping upstairs. Talk about feeling betrayed. The best friend kicked him out the moment he saw that through the camera, and it was just a very wild experience. He did not end up flying back that day because he is an imbecile and had left his passport at the best friend's house, and he eventually flew back 3 days later. I spent those 3 days packing my life into boxes while simultaneously crying uncontrollably and sending him hateful messages. With the assistance of some friends, I moved out and found a new place the day after I moved out. It has been a whirlwind of emotions and experiences. I have recurring nightmares of him cheating on me, and today I finally had that same nightmare. We were out at a bar with his friends, and this girl started hitting on him, which obviously made me uncomfortable, but he just told me I was insane and they ended up kissing, causing me to wake up feeling terrible. However, today the outcome was different. The moment I saw the girl hitting on him and him reciprocating, I just started laughing and walked out. When I woke up, I felt strange, still terrible, but slightly less so. That is all. I apologize for venting. I still do not understand why he did what he did, the same excuse, how I can do much better than him, how he does not deserve me, how much he hates himself, and so on, and I think I never will. I long for the day when I do not wake up feeling terrible, and to be honest, this experience has ruined relationships for me. I fell for him because he seemed different and kinder and such a nice guy, but he ended up being a complete idiot and causing me so much pain, just as he said he never would. Story 3. Left a voicemail for my married ex after 12 years, feeling disgusting and overwhelmed with guilt. My husband is perfect, yet I crave the excitement of our past. Am I a terrible person for this fantasy or just scared of what I might do next? Desperate for guidance. My husband, 38 years old, is perfect. There is nothing wrong with him. Surprisingly, there is nothing I can complain about. A few years before we met 11 years ago, I was involved with an older man, perhaps 15 to 20 years my senior. It was the best sexual experience of my life, and I still think about it today. At that time, I did not realize he was married. He told everyone that he was divorced. I was young and naive and believed him. When I discovered that he had lied, I immediately ceased all communication with him, and miraculously my now husband entered my life. Our lives have been ideal, and we are a strong, solid couple. I am incredibly proud of him. Today I crossed a line and left a voicemail. This message is for XYZ, please give me a call. On his work phone. I included no other identifying information. We have not spoken in 12 years, and this is the first time I have attempted to contact him. As far as I know, he has never tried to reach out to me again. I feel disgusting, as if I have already crossed a significant boundary. I think that if I were to see him again, I cannot trust myself not to throw myself at him again. Imagining it is like it was 12 years ago. I have been in denial about admitting that this is merely a fantasy in my mind. Nothing will ever come of it, and it exists only in my thoughts. I foolishly left a voicemail, and although that may seem minor, I fear that if I have done this, I will not be able to restrain myself from going further. I am terrified of what I have done because, until a few days ago, I could never have imagined myself as someone who would cheat. I feel like that despicable cheater that everyone despises, and I believe I deserve that label. How do I reconcile this situation? I have justified my lustful thoughts by saying, oh, it's the new psychiatric medications, or oh, my father was unfaithful and I did not have a great role model family like my husband's family. I am exhausted by the excuses and genuinely want to be 100% faithful to my husband. I cannot shake the feeling that I have ruined my husband's life and many others' lives as well as various other things just by leaving a voicemail. My foolish self still craves the sex from 12 years ago. All of the justifications I have come up with are invalid. I am an adult and I am accountable for my own actions. I believe perhaps the first step is writing this out like I have. I have never confessed any of this to anyone. I have kept it bottled up inside my head. Please help guide me, although I undoubtedly do not deserve it. Edit to add, I acknowledge that I do not deserve anyone's forgiveness or kindness, whether from the internet, my husband, or anyone else. I am terrified of myself for leaving that voicemail. It indicates that at my conscious core I would go further if given the opportunity. I do not desire that. One comment likened this to a drug addict who, after being sober for 10 years, returns to temptation. I do not want to be an addict. Another commenter suggested writing every day about the things I love about my husband. Reflecting on that, and the reasons we got married makes me even more ashamed of what I have done today. It reminds me of the many reasons we came together and continue to stay together. I have scheduled an appointment with my psychiatrist for tomorrow morning. I intend to discuss with the psychiatrist how to tell my husband and work through this without destroying my husband's life. Yes, I am a terrible person. I deserve much of the hatred that has been directed at me. That is no excuse. Comments with actionable items would be appreciated. Edit to add too. I managed to reach a former therapist and shared everything with her. There is no excuse or justification for my actions. I am feeling overwhelmed, burned out, stressed out, and overcommitted to various activities. The therapist stated that given my health history details I omitted in this Reddit post because I thought they were irrelevant, the recent changes in medication might be causing a hormonal imbalance and/or insulin resistance. I have been under so much stress that my other doctor suspects I have irritable bowel syndrome. One issue that stresses me out more than anything is weight loss. My husband has made comments in good faith in the past regarding my weight and his concern for my health because of it. I admit that I have allowed this to affect me deeply and have let it terrorize every part of my mind. I have allowed it to consume me and fuel many insecurities. Once again, this is not a justification, but I am admitting for the first time to a deeper truth. There were several ex-partners, all but this one were mediocre, and I can barely remember their names after so long. This particular ex represents a time in my life when I was free of responsibilities. He did not care about my size for obviously wrong reasons, as he was cheating on his wife, and I was young and carefree. I have taken on too many responsibilities and have exhausted myself in seeking acceptance, approval, and admiration from my husband and family. He embodies that fantasy from my past, and in a fantasy, everything is ideal. I long to disappear into that past because it was easier to cope with. I have an appointment with my psychiatrist. The therapist I spoke with today is no longer practicing full-time and has referred me to her scheduler to arrange an appointment with another therapist, which I am fully committed to attending to work through these issues. I have not shared any of today's events with my husband. He has been at work while I have been at home. Story 4. Caught sending a note that said, "Hi, I think you're pretty," to another girl while trying to mend things with my ex of 2 years. She called me out saying, "You were just about to cheat." Now I'm left in heartbreak and chaos as she hates my guts. How did it all unravel so fast? So basically, I will start off by stating that I am 100% in the wrong. I do not agree with my actions. I could have handled things differently and I nearly cheated. Anyway, I have been with this girl for 2 years now, and just recently I found myself interested in someone else. I have not spoken to this new interest at all. I merely made it clear that I was intrigued, for example, by leaving notes visible to her that hinted at my interest. Nothing serious, just trying to express my interest as if I were looking at the menu to place my order, if that makes sense. This whole situation lasted only a couple of days. I was interested one day, and the next day I took one small step by leaving a simple note saying, "Hi, I think you are pretty." I recognize that I probably should not have done that at all. It was quite foolish. However, that same day, my girlfriend and I had a conversation which turned very sad, and we decided to break up, hoping to have a future together at some point. I was okay with that, but I was uncertain about what might happen over time. Despite this, I continued to pursue this new girl. However, she noticed it was me and even told me that I should not be doing that because I had a girlfriend, and then she informed my now ex-girlfriend. My ex soon found out and quickly ended things with me. I do not blame her. I understand her perspective because I was close to cheating. My ex argued with me, and I agreed with everything she said because I was not in a position to defend myself. I was in the wrong, who could? She claimed that this was the reason we broke up, just because I spoke to this new girl, which is not true. I agreed that things were difficult and that we both did not deserve what we inflicted on each other in ways that caused us pain. She expressed that she hates me, and I can understand that. I would not be very happy if I caught my partner cheating or doing something similar to what I did. This brings up another point. My ex and I have had many problems in the past, having taken a few breaks. During those breaks, she has always found herself in situations with someone else, showing interest in them merely days after our breakup. When I confronted her about it, I acknowledged a few things. We were not together, and she had the freedom to talk to whomever she pleased. She went back to her recent exes or started talking to new people, sometimes several at once. and she sent explicit pictures of herself to many different individuals during those breaks, which is acceptable because we were not together, so it does not really matter. However, these events occurred only days or a week or two after we parted ways, so it is easy to see why I would feel upset or betrayed in some manner. This has happened 2 or 3 times already. I confronted her about it, and she admitted it was foolish and regrettable. I took her word for it and hoped we could move past it together because I saw more in her than just a minor mistake. I believe she was hurt and wanted to cope with it in her own way. That is what I hoped was her reason for those actions. And in the end, I always tried to overlook it as much as I could while still addressing it and recognizing what was wrong. I could still envision good moments in the future that were worth preserving despite a small misunderstanding. Now she caught me doing something similarly questionable. However, I did not do anything major, like sending pictures of myself or getting involved with anyone in any way. I remained independent, hoping to work on and improve myself for the future, but she could not forgive me, which is understandable. However, after all the times I caught her doing something, I always sought a way to work through it, even if it was difficult to overcome, rather than simply breaking up immediately and saying something hurtful. But anyway, I have more intriguing stories about this girl, and I could provide more details if you would like. For now, I would appreciate someone's commentary and advice on everything I just discussed. Thank you.